was his name. This incident took place 55 days before the blessed birth of the Prophet ﷺ. And he came to Mecca with an army of 300,000 soldiers, wanting to destroy the Kaaba. Why he wanted to destroy it, I'm not going to go into that. I will leave that to Allah Masad. But ultimately with his ill intention, Allah Almighty destroyed him and his army. He had an army of elephants, if I'm not mistaken, around 1,000 elephants. And the leader of the elephants was a white elephant by the name of Mahmud. Baral, Allah Almighty sent down a flock of birds. وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. And in their claws, they had small pebbles and stones. And you know, when you throw things at speed, at velocity, then it impacts that thing quite hard. So from a distance, the birds were throwing down these stones, and ultimately Abraha and his army were destroyed. Very good. So I'm not saying anything new. So all of this signaled change. The Prophet ﷺ's blessed birth signal change. And that's the first thing I want you to take with you today. And just like his blessed birth, his Milad signal change, in the same way every year when we celebrate his blessed birth, we should make a promise to Allah Almighty to change ourselves. This is the message. Do you understand how I made the link? So the Prophet ﷺ's birth signaled change, brought about change. And every year when we come together in these type of gatherings, in this blessed season of spring, Rabi'ul Awwal, the first spring, then we should also make this resolve and this promise to change ourselves. If we're doing bad habits, if we are doing things that we're not supposed to be doing, then we should make a firm promise to Allah Almighty that we're going to change ourselves, we're going to better ourselves. Say inshallah. Okay. So this was the first thing I wanted to mention. This celebration that takes place every year, where we decorate our masajid. Was gentle in his nature. He was never rude, nor did he raise his voice. He was neither obscene, nor did he look for faults in people. He didn't use lewd language. He didn't swear. He didn't call people names. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was generous in his nature. He was merciful and compassionate. He was kind in his conduct. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his character was such that he was the most truthful of people. We know that before he announced his prophethood, the mushrikeen in Makkah, the polytheists, referred to him by two honorable titles. Does anybody know what these two titles are? The mushrikeen, the disbelievers of Makkah, referred to the Prophet ﷺ by two titles. One starts with an A, the other starts with an S. Very good. You're getting two. You got two right now. If you get a third one, then I'll give you a reward. As-Sadiq. Siddiq, Sadiq, same root words. So Al-Amin, fantastic, and As-Sadiq. Al-Amin means what? The trustworthy one. The enemies of Islam would give their properties to the Prophet ﷺ. They would give their amanat to the Prophet ﷺ. Nabi ﷺ would take care of them, would look after the properties of the enemies of Islam. That's how trustworthy he was. And As-Sadiq, he was truthful as well. He was the most truthful of people. He never lied. So you might ask the question, Imam Sahib, how do we bring this change about? How do we bring this change within ourselves? Then the answer is simple. We follow the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We follow his example. Because his example is the best example. Whose example? His. Who's his? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His example is the best example. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Sadly and unfortunately today, as youngsters living in the West, we idolize, though it might be a very harsh word, we idolize and glorify and look towards pop stars, movie stars, footballers. And our kids, unfortunately, children, they know more about these people. They know more about Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, and if you're like me, then Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku. You correct me. Lukaku, Ibrahimovic. If you didn't figure it out, I'm a Manchester United fan. Anyway, that's in its own place. Our children, unfortunately, know more about the people of the dunya than they do about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, for example, how many of you know how many children in total did the Prophet ﷺ have? Don't say anything, put your hand up. If you know how many he had. If you know, don't say anything, I will choose. No guessing, if you know for certain. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 50-50. He knows that I'm going to get a reward, I might as well put my hand up. 8 people. 9, is that up or down? Okay, so how many children did he have? 7. Very good. Those of you who had your hands up, did you know that? Yes. Good. Out of the 7 children, how many daughters? 4 daughters. And 3 sons. Yes. So this is a sign of your Ustaji, mashallah, and the rest of the teachers teaching you well. But I'm not exaggerating when I say that if you were to go to different massages up and down the country. I was in Dundee, Scotland on Sunday night. I went to Manchester last night. I'm off to Bolton now. I've got Preston tomorrow. I've got Sheffield. We travel up and down the country. Yes. Got Hounslow next week, whatever it may be. And if you're like my brother, you travel all around the world. He's currently in America. So we have access to different massages, different madarises. And unfortunately, the education system in our masajids is close to 0. Yet alhamdulillah, the ulama, Khuddam of the masjid, Intizamiya of the masjid, they are putting the effort into changing things. So that you guys can become those individuals who follow the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ and apply his sunnah into your lives. But generally across the board, that isn't the case. It's very good to hear and see that a lot of you know how many children Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was blessed with. Let's do a couple more questions. How old was the Prophet ﷺ when he migrated, moved? Well, essentially was driven out of the city of Mecca and moved to Madinatul Munawwara. Does anyone know how old? No. Very good. 53 years old. Did you know that? How long did he spend in Madinatul Munawwarah? How many years? No. You, yes, hello, the one looking back, yes, you. 10 years, very good. So 53 at 10 is how much? 63. Sit down, sit down. 63 years old the Prophet ﷺ was when he left this world. These are things that we must know, basic things about his life. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So bringing this change about into our lives comes from knowing and studying the life of the Prophet ﷺ and implementing and acting upon his character. Nabi ﷺ never refused an invitation and always accepted gifts. Nabi ﷺ, in terms of his character, he would never complain about things. You know, like we do today, if the food isn't right, if the salt is too much, if it's too cold, we start complaining. If you don't get the latest FIFA, 2017 now is it? 18, there you go. Shows I'm a bit behind, huh? If you don't get the latest FIFA game or the latest trainers, we start complaining to our parents. And then that leads me on to the second part of my talk, last 5 minutes. Is that as youngsters, listen to these words very carefully. The first part was what? We should bring about a change within ourselves. If you're not praying, become people who start praying 5 times a day. If your character isn't resembling the character of the Prophet ﷺ, then study his life, study his seerah, and apply and implement his sunnah into your lives. Very quickly, the second part of my talk is that as youngsters, as children, we should always respect our parents, elders as well, teachers, people who are older than us. But we have more access to our parents than anyone else at this age. 60–70% of our time we spend with our parents. So it is very, very important that we respect our parents at all times. I'm not going to do full tashri upon this, but suffice to say Imam Ghazali mentioned, how do we show respect to our parents? One of the ways of doing this is that we never walk in front of them. We always walk behind our parents. Another way of showing respect to our parents is that we always listen to what they say. We never answer them back. We never remind them of the favors that we have done for them. Another way of showing respect to our parents is that when we leave the home to make a journey, we should always seek permission from our parents. When you get to your late teenage years, you start going out late. And you say to your parents, I'm going to come back at 8, I'm going to come back at 9, I'm going to come back at 10. And sometimes you don't come back until after midnight. Imagine the pain and the difficulty and the anguish and the distress that your parents will be going through. Remember the words of the Prophet ﷺ, that paradise lies under the feet of your mother. Paradise lies under the feet of your mother, and the pleasure of Allah Almighty lies with your father. That if your father is pleased with you, Allah is pleased with you. But if your father is displeased with you, then know that Allah is angry with you. Allah is displeased with you. So it is very, very important that at all times we respect and honor our parents. Look, you only have one mother, you only have one father. Ask those people, elders whose parents have left this dunya. They will give everything that they have, all of their wealth, just to have one glance at the face of their mother or father. And I will end upon this, that if you want to be successful in life, trust me, success is not measured by the car that you drive. Success is not measured by the house that you live in. Success is not measured by the clothing that you wear. Success is not measured by the money you have in your pocket. Rather, success is measured by the amount of service and khidmat and the honor and respect that you show to your parents. Look at Hazrat Khwaja Awais Karni radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Bayazid Bustami rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. These are individuals from the history of Islam whose names shine as bright as the stars in the sky. So if you want to be successful, and I know you're switching off now, you're looking around, where's that food going to come from? When's Imam Sahib going to put an end to his talk? But if you want to be successful in life, mark my words, serve your parents. Take care of your parents. Look after your parents. Don't take your parents for granted. Never swear at your parents. Never say uff to your parents. Whatever they say, labbaika wa sa'daik. You implement and you act upon the ahkam, upon the orders. So the two key messages today. Number one, we are supposed to bring about a change within ourselves. Become better people. And there's always room for improvement. The only person who was perfect was the Prophet ﷺ. Each and every one of you and me, we have imperfections within us. We need to better ourselves. And number two was what? Always respect your parents. Allah Almighty allow us to act upon these two things. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا.
MashaAllah, beautifully mentioned there. Right, what's going to happen now is after the food, if those of you can stay behind, you should stay behind. We're going to continue with the Mehfil after your food, inshallah. But those who want to go, you're free to go. What I want you to do now is everybody go downstairs, have your food. Those who need to go home, go home. Those who can stay, especially the elders, you should stay. Okay, ji. Assalamu alaikum. Sisters upstairs, make sure you deliver the food out.
Anybody who's running is going to have to come back here and watch. We're going to go downstairs now.
میرے دلدار آئے، میرے سرکار آئے، میرے دلدار آئے، میرے نبی آ گئے، پیارے نبی آ گئے، لجپال نبی آ گئے، غمخوار نبی آ گئے، صاحب معراج نبی، آسیوں کی لاج نبی، نبیوں کے سرتاج نبی، کل بھی تھے اور آج نبی، دو جہاں کے راج والے میرے نبی آ گئے، ہر خارجی فسادی وطن سے بھگائیں گے، کیونکہ ان کا ٹائم اب پورا ہو گیا ہے، ہر خارجی فسادی وطن سے بھگائیں گے، پڑھ کے درود سب کو میلادی بنائیں گے، لائیں گے ہم حضور کا اسلام تخت پر، لاطینیت کے سارے بتوں کو گرائیں گے، اپنے نبی پاک سے یوں پیار کریں گے، ہم اپنے نبی پاک سے یوں پیار کریں گے، ہر حال میں سرکار کا میلاد کریں گے، ہر حال میں سرکار کا میلاد کریں گے، تکلیف ہوتی ہے تجھے مرچیں بھی لگتی ہیں، تکلیف تو ہوتی ہے، بہت تکلیف ہوتی ہے، جب 12ویں پہ لائٹوں سے گلیاں بھی سجتی ہیں، تکلیف ہوتی ہے تجھے مرچیں بھی لگتی ہے، جب 12ویں پہ لائٹوں سے گلیاں بھی سجتی ہیں، کیوں چڑھتا ہے تو دیکھ کے جھنڈوں کی بہاریں، کیوں چڑھتا ہے تو دیکھ کے جھنڈوں کی بہاریں، تعظیم نبی ہو تو سبھی اچھی لگتی ہے، ہم اپنے نبی پاک سے یوں پیار کریں گے،